Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to getting informed, maybe with a few surprising facts and hopefully just enough interest to keep you listening. Today, we are diving into something pretty deep. Chapter 10 of the Bhagavad Gita, it's often called Vibhuti Yoga or the Yoga of Divine Glories. And we're asking a huge question. What is God's true form? I mean, can we actually see divinity out there in the world, beyond temples and icons?
That's exactly it. That's the mission for this deep dive. We're looking at how Krishna in the Gita reveals his divine power and how it manifests across the whole universe. The core idea really is that God isn't just, contained in one place. His essence, his glory, it shines through all the greatness, all the wonder we see every day.
Okay, let's unpack this then. To start off, when the Gita talks about Krishna, what's his fundamental nature? What does the text really want us to get about him at the very core?
Well, there's a specific line, Shloka 10.3, that gives a really powerful glimpse. It says something like, "He who knows me as unborn, without beginning, and the Lord of all worlds, is free from delusion and sin." So what's really interesting here, it's not just about knowing about a God. It's about understanding Krishna as the ultimate source, unending, the very fabric of reality itself, and grasping that nature. That's presented as something that actually purifies the soul, frees you from, getting it wrong. He's not just a guide. He's the origin, the source of all existence.
Right. Unborn, without beginning.
Yeah.
That's a lot to wrap your head around. So how does someone, begin to grasp that kind of immense nature? Is it just intellectual study, poring over texts, or is there something else?
Yeah, and that brings us to a really key point, how this understanding is revealed. The text puts a huge emphasis on devotion, maybe even more than just logic or reason alone. Shlokas 10.9 and 10.10 really light this up. They say, "My devotees delight in me and speak about me. To them, I give the light of knowledge to reach me." So it highlights that Krishna reveals himself. Well, not just to anyone who's curious, but to those who are really seeking him with love, with a dedicated heart. It's about that deep personal connection. That's what unlocks the understanding.
Right. So it's less about just piling up facts about Krishna and more about building a real relationship, a connection. And that becomes the way you understand.
Exactly.
This seems to tie into that bigger idea you mentioned, Krishna as the origin of, everything. How does the Gita flesh that out more? Him being the source of all intelligence, all existence?
It does connect directly. If you look at Shloka 10.8, it makes this sweeping claim. "I am the source of everything." Plain and simple. "The wise, knowing this, worship me with all their hearts." And this isn't just talking about the Big Bang or cosmic creation. It implies more. It suggests that every talent you see, every spark of genius, every wonder, every deep insight someone has, every beautiful thing, it all comes from a divine spark, a spark of Krishna's infinite light. The huge declaration, really, that the essence of everything, it springs from him.
That's such a comprehensive vision. It's not just abstract either. You mentioned Krishna gives specific examples to make this real, these vibhutis, right? These examples of his divine glory shining through in the world around us. Can you maybe walk us through a few of those? What does he point to?
Absolutely. And this is where it gets really tangible, concrete. In Shlokas 10.20 to 10.39, he lists quite a few. To show these specific ways his splendor manifests, he says things like, "Among the Adityas, who are these ancient sun deities, I am Vishnu," who is, of course, a major form of the divine himself.
Right.
And among lights, I am the radiant sun. That one's pretty clear.
Okay, makes sense.
He identifies with nature, too. Among mountains, I am Meru, which is this mythical sacred mountain in the center of the cosmos in Hindu geography. And among rivers, I am the Ganga, the Ganges, hugely sacred. He even covers sound. Among words, I am Om, that primal sacred sound.
Wow.
Yeah, and it goes into human figures, animal forms. Among warriors, I am Rama, the legendary king and avatar himself.
Rama.
Among animals, I am the lion, symbolizing majesty, power. Among sages, I am Vyasa, the great sage said to have compiled the Vedas. And even among humans, I am the king, representing, leadership, righteous authority.
That really does broaden the view, doesn't it? It hits home that idea that anything majestic or powerful or just glorious, whether it's nature, a great person, a profound sound, a skill, you should know that it comes from, a spark of Krishna's divine splendor.
Precisely.
So, okay, that brings up a question. Why? Why does Krishna reveal these specific things to Arjuna in that moment and, by extension to us reading it now? What's the deeper point of listing these manifestations? Why does it matter?
That's a really important question. What's the takeaway, the practical use of this? And Shloka 10.41 just kind of sums it up beautifully. It says, know that all magnificent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor.
Just a spark.
Just a spark. And that teaching is incredibly freeing in a way, because it helps the devotee, helps us see the divine not just as some abstract idea or, somewhere far away in the heavens, but right here, embedded in the everyday, in the mundane and the magnificent. It's this powerful reminder that Krishna isn't only like up in the clouds or just in the holy books. He's present. He's actively shining through, I don't know, the artist's brush, the warrior's courage, the teacher's wisdom. It just fundamentally shifts your perception of where divinity is, how you can experience it.
What a truly expansive way to see things. Yeah. This deep dive into chapter 10, it's really shown us that the divine is, everywhere. Present and shining through all kinds of greatness in the universe. It feels like an invitation, really, to look for those sparks, those vibhutis, in everything.
Absolutely. It's an invitation to see differently. And maybe just as a final thought to leave you with, how might actually recognizing these divine sparks, these manifestations of greatness all around, how might that change how you perceive the world, your world, and maybe even change how you see the talents or the wonders you just encounter day to day? Something to think about.